So I'd read a story that a company was raising big funds to buy. Was it Tencent was raising big funds that they were going to try and maybe buy EA, or they're going to buy Take-Two and potentially own EA or potentially own Rockstar? Raising funds to buy EA. Tencent. That was a rumor from 3 days ago. Tencent definitely has the money for it. Let's see here. What do we got? Tencent bought a part of Don't Nod. Okay. Sure. Alrighty, they already own major parts of the digital entertainment market. Stakes in other studios, Blizzard, Activision. EA would be a tough buy. Take-Two would be an easier target to purchase. Is Take-Two really all of Rockstar? It'd be a big deal, eh? I mean, whenever you look at the numbers of what games make money, when you look at the ones that are phone games, mobile games, basically, like, when you think of the worst games in terms of, like, psychologically how they work, you know, like what they make money off of, manipulating people using gambling tactics and like evil practices that prey on people's parts of the brain where they're trying to manipulate you and control you, and that's how they make their money. Those games make so much bloody money. It's unbelievable. I've said it before. It's a miracle that Sony and other companies still want to just make good old-fashioned single-player games that have no microtransactions. I mean, you saw how EA put out Star Wars Squadrons, and they were saying this game's not going to have a support after. We're not going to do DLC. We're not going to, we're not going to pour more money into it. And I was super pumped on Star Wars Squadrons. It was classic. It was exactly what I've been wanting for the longest time, to get back to that feel of those old TIE Fighter games. TIE Fighter, X-Wing, that were so good and just for some reason had never been replicated. And I thought they put a really good modern spin on it. And the cutscenes were really, really just like when EA described Star Wars Squadrons, it was almost like they were embarrassed. They go, "This isn't going to be a full-scale game, okay?" It's like, it's really, it's basically the opposite of Cyberpunk. Whereas Cyberpunk thought, we're going to be everything. You can walk around, you can drive around. Squadrons, you can't even walk. It's like Myst. At least the first one. You just choose which screen you go to. Now we're in the briefing room. Now we're standing here. Now we're... and like, you see people and they move and they talk and their faces actually look pretty good. But you're not... they don't have to worry about the physics of you walking around and going into different rooms and having things to do. It's just enough there to have just what you need to play and get the story across. So... I'm just, that's where I'm worried. Like Horky's saying, not a big fan of holding companies owning game companies. Lets them impose their will on these companies to do these kind of things. Yeah. Now the Star Wars license, EA doesn't have direct control over it anymore, so it's going to be licensed out. Ubisoft is going to be making an open world version. I'm really not excited about that. I don't like the Ubisoft game style. I really don't like how they make games. It just feels like a bunch of fucking crap. Seems kind of rough around the edges from the sounds of it. Which one? Squadrons? God, does this ever sound like we're listening to a Twitch stream? Here's some Picross. Picross. Alright. Pop a diddly puff this open. Didn't have game-breaking bugs while streaming? I can't remember. I really can't remember. I just remember liking it a lot. It was what I wanted, man. Xbox Game Pass has 18 million subscribers and Xbox Live has achieved 100 million. So didn't Xbox Gold, didn't they try to bump up the prices? And then they backed down from it, right? Yeah, I think I had the before day one patch, so it wasn't too big of a deal. Mortal Kombat tournament player disqualified for a moveset name? Oh my god. I don't even want to know what that is. Like, you can just hear in your mind their argument. Oh, yeah? Oh, really? And I guess if I made it about white people, it wouldn't have been a problem. Sure. Sure, why not? Lust from Beyond. That's a good way to get on the N4G page. So this I don't know much about this Medium game. This is Xbox first next gen exclusive. But what are they saying? Medium cannot run with constant 60 FPS on RTX 3080, even at 1080p high RTX settings. Gross. Composed by Akira Yamaoka. Love letter to classic Silent Hill games. No way, really? Oh, nice. This looks actually really nice. Lust from Beyond is the sequel. There we go. Gabe Newell. Half-Life Alyx created a lot of momentum. That's what you want to hear. When you're worried about Tencent buying up big companies, you want to hear good old Gabe at Steam. Half-Life, a new Half-Life game, creating momentum to make more single-player games is not just the most wholesome image you've heard so far today. At least for me, for the kind of games that I'm into. For what I want to see. Done and made. Let's take a look at Medium a bit more. Remasters and retro sale. Oh, I can't resist. I can't resist. I have to look at it. Remasters and retro. Oh my god. First, I like to look at the comments and see if they're terrible. See if they're terrible sales. Okay, let's get me out of the way here. Whoa! Oh, I'm getting all stretched. There we go. Much better. Mucho better. Mucho, mucho, mucho. Molto, as they say. In Italy. Okay, what games are for sale? Oh my god, it's one of these ones. A million of them. Wow. It really is like every old game ever is now on sale. I'm going to try to spare you guys ads. You should never have to see ads. Not on my watch. Holy crap, this site is gross. This site is gross. Alright. How about we just go PSN retro sale? And I bet Sony's got a way to describe it to us. And I also want to look up this Medium. The Medium. Alright. Official story trailer. Official live action trailer. Excuse me. How about some gameplay? Let's try that. Alright, we'll try to load that in. While streaming is going to be difficult, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, turn off this good but silly music. Picross. Okay, quite intense.
So it's true. The Neva massacre. I need to find this Thomas guy and get the hell out of here.
She's getting all this from a shoe? What the hell? This is the game that's struggling to run on consoles? Oh, I like
Anyone?
the depth. The depth is really nice.
Thomas? You there?
Thomas? Hello? Big Tom? Little Tom? Fat Tom, Skinny Tom. Every Tom. Hello?
Hey,
What the hell?
I need to get up there somehow.
Double worlds. A lot of the game is split screen, so it's rendering 2 locations at once. Oh, I see, I see. Interesting. Now that is pod racing. That's a cool idea. I did this once when I was trying to figure out what's the best way to play Super Mario Bros. 3.
Might as well see if it works.
So I had like 3 versions on at the same time, and I was trying to play them all. With one controller controlling them all. Okay, so sort of like VR, the challenge of VR, trying to render all that stuff. I wish I knew my real name. Do they have sort of like intentionally wooden acting?
Okay, Marianne, just take a deep breath and...
Oh yeah, for the Wii U. I feel like I would be holding up the Wii U tablet though, right in front of my TV the whole time.
Let go. There. A fuse box. Need some energy to spark it up.
Wow, this is quite a throwback. But done with modern tricks. Gotta move fast.
Out-of-body experience.
Are they taking out these dialogue from Sonic games?
Nothingness. Stay under for too long and it just pulls you in.
This looks really interesting. It's kind of jaggedy the way it's moving, but oh well.
Okay,
So what? This is only out on Xbox and
Get
PC?
your ghostly ass back and power up that elevator.
Is it on Games Pass? It might be on Games Pass.
What the hell is this?
Oh, it's Xbox Series and PC. What the what?
I'm sorry you had to go through all this. It's time for you to find peace.
So you can play... Right, I see. You can play in Steam, Xbox. How about GeForce Now?
Huh. It kind of looks like the one I used to get through the mirror. Feels like it, too.
Stay with me.
Interesting.
This work.
I always wonder why they don't use fixed angles more.
You made it, Marianne.
See, that could be really scary, having to run away from this, trying to run away from, like, really scary things in, one area and get to the other. Like being in kind of a world where you have no power, like Freddy Krueger's dream world kind of thing. Looks like that could be pretty good. What I like about fixed camera angles is that you can give the director, the creator of the game, more control over the message you're trying to send. Yeah, and the thing with exclusives is that, I mean, me and Horky had a podcast episode where we went over this. Is there the pros and cons of it? And there's no pro to the consumer. I mean, perhaps like to create an exclusive that gives you a better game, like the way Nintendo makes their exclusives or the Naughty Dog stuff. They're obviously putting more resources into those games than the average one. But I think if you're a big game developer, you're competing against all games anyway. So you're going to be those game developers are still going to be putting the same amount of resources into it. Perhaps they don't get some like super funding, but I think that if you didn't have exclusives, I could see going to a world where only Nintendo made exclusives, and Sony and Microsoft are competing against each other for hardware. As long as Nintendo's successful with their hardware, they'll keep going, and they're going to keep making their games that they can spend a long time making that sell the console, because people want to play Smash, they want to play Zelda, they want to play Mario and Mario Kart. I mean, definitely with how like Smash has just been such a huge lifeline for them, I think. Oh, and Pokemon as well. But you got Pokemon on phones now, right? So, this game looks really, really detailed. But I wonder if, I mean, Microsoft, they don't really need exclusives. I think they're trying to work their way away from that because they keep putting their games on PC as well. What's the point, right? It's not about exclusives. It's more like buy into our ecosystem and then you can play on your computer or your Xbox. But I think you're just kind of killing the idea of getting... If you had a PC, why wouldn't you just get a PlayStation or a Nintendo console, right? So you could play more. Xbox often feels like a passion project for their money. Yeah, I mean, it lost money for a really, really long time when it started. And then with the 360, it got very, very popular. The advantage of putting out console hardware is that... Where's my bloody chat window? God damn it. I lost it. I'll find out what Horky said. I'll find it. Hi.
You startled me.
That's a really cool idea. Okay.
Marianne. Sadness. Is that your name? I mean,
Prum prum.
you seem pretty cheerful to me.
Well, it's what I remember. My friends used to call me by
Oh, girl, that girl's creepy. Alright. The advantage of putting out console hardware is that it makes games more accessible to more people.
I used to have a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing to really think about, right? You just put it in. I mean, you can... A computer, is always going to be limiting to some people. I mean, you can buy pre-made computers, but you have to think about it, right? Like, you can't just... If you go to a store and you don't know anything about games, it's a lot simpler to buy a console. Even if you bought sort of like a pre-made PC and it told you it was a gaming PC, at some point your PC is just not going to run it, and you're going to need to figure out, like, what is it about my computer that won't run these games? Is it the graphics card? Is it the motherboard or whatever, right? And eventually there's definitely like a little bit of learning. Not much, but some. And then at some point you're going to be like opening your computer. So there's that barrier, which for some people is not, but it's there, right? And I mean, it must be so complicated for people to go to a store now and try to figure out what Xbox are they going to buy. And I'm sure they are going to try to make it as easy to understand as possible with the games. But it's going to get more complicated with that.
I can take care of myself. Hey, I was wondering, have you seen...
It's supposed to be complicated for people who are not the real gamers. Yeah, but see, that's actually the majority, right? Like, gaming has exploded because it's hit the mainstream. You've always had the hardcore type gamers, the ones that can figure out stuff with computers. I mean, okay, for example, I really wanted to play that Fallout New Vegas mod. And I tried to download like the auto installer. I downloaded some of the individual files. You have to make sure you have all the DLC. And I just kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't really want to spend 35 to 45 minutes with this. Even in the best case scenario. I did really, really want to play it. But it kind of just became too much. But then other times, I've had a lot of fun I remember really going out of my way to install the original Deus Ex Game of the Year stuff and a bunch of graphical mods, and then I didn't even really end up playing it. I just sort of was having fun tinkering around with that. So you kind of have to be in the right mood, right? Mechanical engineer owning a car, you end up with a lot of intuition. Yeah. But like you say, it's always going to be more accessible to, like when gaming started really exploding with, say, Call of Duty. And there are a lot of people that buy consoles to play Call of Duty. Now Fortnite. EA Sports games. And that's why they buy them. Like I have friends back home that they got their console and their game library just says Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, NHL 15, NHL 16, NHL 17, NHL 18. And that's it. And you see them all the time where people will sell, when I'm looking on Kijiji, and you'll see PlayStation 4 for sale, and all they have are sports games and Call of Duty games. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but they're not the type that are probably going to buy a computer and try to figure that stuff out. They want to play simply and with their friends. The issues you end up having is stuff that's literally out of your control, like the way a company ported a game. Oh, I see. Oh, you mean like the only issues you ever have with PC games is right. If it was like the Arkham. So, yeah, right. I see. Like with that, and that was a really bad era when a lot of games were ported to PC and they were just running terrible. And that was in the PS3 360 era, or was that the beginning of the PS4 when the games are really bad going to PC? Yeah, it's interesting. My buddy Dave, D-Tag, when he comes on here, he just got his PS4 back, and he asked me randomly, like, is this game good? Is this game good? He tends to ask me about a game that's on sale, and then I'll, it doesn't matter what I tell him, he's going to buy it anyway. He's just kind of looking for some confirmation. But he was asking me about Death Stranding. It was on sale. Looks interesting. You know, you put Norman Reedus' face on something, and you put it on sale, and it's on PlayStation, and then people watch a trailer. It's a pretty impressive looking game, and I could see that bringing in a lot of more mainstream people who are like, I like Walking Dead. I like Norman Reedus' show about motorcycles. And I would love to watch them play that game halfway through. But, you know, I think Kojima, like I've said many times before, is very underrated in how he composes games and how he actually directs them. He is pretty smart. You know, Death Stranding starts off simple. Like the way he builds you up to the point of where you're going to be bouncing all these boxes is he does it with a lot of care and like really well paced. And the opening hour is actually his finest cinematic work, where he actually stays in control. And then the end of the game, he just goes crazy. But by the end of the game, you're already invested in it. So it's like, fine, go crazy at the end. But he does a good way of drawing people in. That's what I wanted to talk about, Horky, is that the GeForce Now, that is actually, I think GeForce Now and cloud gaming is going to be, could be huge, because it's actually almost easier than playing on a console. Because with GeForce Now and cloud gaming, you could have a Stadia, you could be playing on your iPad, anything. It doesn't have to be a computer. It can be your Chromebook. It can be your Fire tablet. It could be your iPad. It could be whatever you have around the house that's a very casual computing device. And you can play PC games that are at full effects, that are better than people who bought a top of the line computer and now it's 2 or 3 years old. You're playing with better effects than them, as long as you have good internet. And there's probably a large group of people that have great internet, that have much faster internet than their knowledge of computers or willingness to buy an expensive computer. We've gone over it a few times, but I still think like you'll get a better gaming experience on PCs, but it is more expensive for sure. But see, that's the thing is like, okay, with GeForce Now, you still need to have a Steam account. So that's kind of an extra step. And Steam can be an irritating bitch to log into. So you would need somebody who's like, okay, I want to play GeForce Now on my Ouya or on my iPad, but I need to have a Steam account and go buy the games there and then link them together. So it's kind of that extra step. That's a bit of a trick. If you're trying to get people into it, it has to be easy. I mean, there were tons and tons of tablets, but the iPad and the iPhone brought all that stuff together in the most accessible way possible, to the point that a lot of people, they would be terrified by the idea of switching to something, even if, like, most phone operating systems are all pretty homogenized now, aren't they? They're all basically like, they all look like Apple. Yeah, it's sort of like Netflix. I mean, when Netflix first started streaming video, they were getting all kinds of, they were getting everything. They had The Office. NBC gave them that, sure. Became Netflix's biggest, probably moneymaker. Probably like their top property they've had for years. I mean, it was an event when The Office left Netflix, and that was probably given to them for nothing. And then once they started dominating, all of these companies realized, oh my God, we probably didn't ask for nearly enough money. I'm sure like the amount of money NBC got so that Netflix could license it to stream it, not have exclusive rights to it, but they were the only game in town streaming. So in a way they turned that into an exclusivity streaming deal because nobody was using anything else. Like I might have Disney Plus here and there, Crave here and there, that kind of stuff. But people tend to always keep Netflix. It's become this constant. And Netflix was smart when when everybody else was catching up to them. They started dumping tons of money into original products. And I think people doubted them then too. And then that ended up being everything. You have to have the original stuff. They realized that they were going to lose their... they realized people were going to... Yeah, that people were going to catch up and we're going to take all that stuff back from them. Oh my God, yeah, that's a scary thing about a corporation. And that mentality in capitalism is that, like Horky says, if someone could monopolize breathing, if you had to pay to breathe, they totally would. It's like Total Recall on Mars. They control the air. Give these people air! Give them air! Because when it becomes about pleasing a board and bringing numbers up and down, you remove the human element of it. But yeah, like Corky was saying, GeForce Now could bring more people to PC gaming, but you end up with, like people are trying to dig into it. The other publishers are like, whoa, you can't just have every game on GeForce Now. We don't know why, but you're making money from that, and we've already made money. I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's actually a pretty good deal. I pay my $80 to the publisher of Disco Elysium, and then I pay $10 a month to NVIDIA GeForce Now, and I play it there. But for some reason, they really want to control that, and they go, oh, well, we'll make our own. You go, oh, you're so fucking annoying that you feel like you need to have your own little piece, don't you? And now you're just going to make it more complicated. You need to, and it is already complicated where you need to like sign into Ubisoft, Uplay, and all these crappy accounts. Like if I want to play Anno on GeForce Now, you got to sign into 3 things. And then once you do, it works really well. Cloud gaming works surprisingly well. And I'm all for it. I love the idea. I just hope that they can get it figured out and it still not feel, not get bogged down and kind of lose the idea behind it and lose the benefit behind it for people. So, yeah, it becomes slimy. And I get it. They want to make money off the thing, but you've already gotten paid for the game. All NVIDIA is doing is they're charging you to play a virtual PC, which is the part I love, because you don't have to think about it. They handle all that. You pay $10 a month, $120 a year, and you have a virtual PC that's incredibly powerful that can be played on anything. That seems too good to be true for me. I mean, that could actually become way more expensive. Yeah, they're just like it's like you're renting somebody's PC. They show up, they bring it to your house, and they've taken care of everything, and you don't have to worry about it. And they come by every so often and update all the parts and give you the best possible, so you can play the best possible graphic settings. It's actually insane. And I think cloud gaming had a moment where it was, Horky shared the article with me. I think cloud gaming had a moment where it was really amazing, and then now it's going to be dumbed down a bit. I think it's going to have ups and downs where they're going to try to figure out how do we make the most money out of this. Is Ubisoft going to want to have, if you want a cloud game, you got to do it through our server, and you got to pay us extra. I mean, maybe they're realizing that the infrastructure to do cloud gaming is actually quite simple. I have no idea. I'm a layman with it, but it seems like that's what it is, where Ubisoft and the rest are going to realize, well, we can just do our own cloud gaming. People can pay us for that. It could actually, I think it could, that could be the biggest danger to consoles. Because what's easier than a console? Like cloud gaming? If you were a parent, it always goes back to me for parents. Like, if a parent goes, okay, I could buy my kid one of these Xboxes there's 9 different models, and I have no idea which one to get. I could get them this Nintendo thing, maybe. The guy at EB Games always says, this is the family-friendly one. I could get one of these PlayStations. There's a bunch of those, and this thing looks humongous. Or I could get my kid their little crappy tablet that they already have. I can pay $10 a month, and they have access to this thing. But it's getting the games, like I said before. Trying to get those games trying to link up your Steam to GeForce is still one more step that I don't think a lot of people are going to do. And like, for parents to think, I got to go to Steam, that's where I buy the games? I don't want to do that. People like things to be simple, right? It's like yesterday I was thinking, so I've had, you saw a video from this guy who's been uploading a ton of old B-roll for news. They had the PS2 launch. Oh, cool. And the Xbox launch? Just publishers trying to shoehorn the old framework into the new age, like cable TV. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Cable TV slowly shrinks, streaming goes way up, cable TV tries to join, and then you kind of get to this point where you're like, oh, we're back to paying the same cable bill that we had to pay before. Well, it can be really expensive if you actually want to subscribe to everything. You really have to pick and choose. But this is what we always wanted before, was this like a la carte. But you have to make it easy. I find companies like Microsoft subscribing and unsubscribing to Game Pass and like games with gold and stuff, they make it really tough for you have to like use Google to find out where you can actually go to unsubscribe, and you got to go to like Microsoft, deal with your Microsoft account. From what I remember, you couldn't even do it from the console, or it was so difficult. But now the other day, last night, I had this idea of stream the main stuff from Divinity Original Sin 2 on my Switch, and then I can do all the sort of ticky-tack stuff that I don't really want to stream, that I just want to patiently go through. I can do that around the house, in bed, on my Switch. But the Switch version, man, it is so low res, and that's a game of fine detail where you need to know who's going to get attacked by this area effect spell, who's covered in water, it's going to get electrified, who's got poison on them, all that kind of stuff, right? And that stuff's a big deal. And I quickly fired up, because I also have Divinity on PS4, and I fired it up on my phone, my little broken down iPhone 8. And the PlayStation looked so bloody good on this for remote play. It looked amazing. And it had touchscreen controls. It actually worked okay. There's a bit of lag, which is a pain in the ass. And then I'm thinking, shit, I could play my Vita. If I had an iPad, I can do it on my laptop. You just have to find out which one you can easily get your hook up a controller to. But if it just takes like a wired universal controller for a game like that, and then I was thinking, man, there's so many ways to play games now. I could play GeForce Now, probably, Divinity, on stream, so it looks great. And then I could do GeForce Now on like a little tablet, or I could cloud save to the Switch. Like, that's what's nice. And that's if you get away from exclusives. You give people so many of these beautiful options where, look, you bought the game, you paid the money, you can play it these multiple different ways. If you want to keep, I mean, actually, the publishers are making more money this way by not making it exclusive. I personally have bought Divinity on a PS4 and on a Switch, and because it has cloud save with PC, if I saw it on sale, I might get it there too, just so I can really move it all around or try it on cloud gaming. So they're not just making more selling to different people on platforms, they're selling multiple versions to multiple platforms to one customer. That's got to be, I mean, that's really got to be like invaluable. So what would be the point of going to a single publisher? Because Sony's going to support you and give you more money? Is it really that much more? So Sony's putting out all this money and losing money on some games, making less profit on each game. I mean, they could. It's crazy. I guess they've just kind of settled into. There's not as many exclusives as there used to be. They've settled into. We need to have a few. I mean, Sony's doesn't have to compete with Nintendo because it's kind of a different market, and they're just trying to compete. They know that they're just trying to run faster than... It's like if you're running away from a bear and the person you're competing with is very slow. That's Microsoft. They're just barely putting out exclusives. And Sony knows as long as we just keep putting out Naughty Dog games, Insomniac, putting out God of War, Infamous, Ghost of Tsushima, just enough. There's enough that people will stick with us and keep moving forward. Metal Gear Solid, Death Stranding, that kind of stuff. Yakuza. And then once people have already bought our consoles to play those games and we license them out to PC. Exactly, yeah, like the publishers. You'd think you could really get rid of that. I mean, publishers are sort of like, in the music industry, a record label. We're going to get you exposure. Yeah, it's really hard for an indie game to get exposure if you don't have a hook, if you don't get attention somehow, if there isn't something that makes you rise above or just pure quality. I feel like there's not that many games of pure quality that don't get out there. I could be way wrong about that. There's a lot of games that are sort of middling to strong quality. There's nothing wrong with them. Like when I was in Toronto and I was interviewing those guys, the developers at this. It was like a Hive. What do you call it? It was like an office that people share. It's like an open concept office that a bunch of indie developers would go and hang out at. The guys from Super Guacamelee were there. And I was talking to some developers that made this game that was sort of based on Carcassonne, that board game. And it was like an isometric kind of Carcassonne strategic game. Really cool elements. Not especially beautiful game, but a good game, a good solid game. And they have a really small team. So they don't have to sell a lot, but they say it's just so hard to get hits and you almost cannot count on getting a hit. And a lot of the time what these indie teams do is they'll have one person on the team when they're done their artwork on the indie project, they go and work on something else. They go work on like a casino game while the coder or whatever is finishing work on their indie project, and they sort of swap in and out and they do these other little projects, these sort of money projects to keep their business afloat. So it's a dangerous sort of very thin line of success and failure that they're having to do. Doesn't feel super sustainable, but if you can get a hit, you're going to be way ahead. Steam is what gives a lot of games on PC. More so before, they sort of opened up the floodgates of Steam. You wonder how many people are driving up the cost or driving down wages simply due to the fact that a bunch of X people have to get paid. Yeah, exactly. Because when you have a publisher involved, that's a lot of extra people. And a lot of people that are just trying to get you the exposure, and that's it, or put up the money at first or something. It's sort of like when a comedian or an actor needs an agent to start getting noticed, and then once they do, they're getting all this work based on their name, and the agent is gonna, and the booker, like they want that cut for the rest of your life. That's kind of what happens with these publishers. Publishers shouldn't get to claim that when Steam is just existing, and Steam's already taking a cut too. So I guess it comes down to just that upfront capital that a publisher has given you. It'd be interesting to talk to, I should do some more interviews with developers of different sizes and be like, what's the business model you guys are doing? How has it changed? How would you like to see it changed going forward? That's the interesting thing. All right. Well, that's going to do it for now. Be playing music later on tonight on my music channel, Matthew Falvey, 4 hours. And the episodes like this will be available on our podcast. Please look forward to upcoming episodes with Horky as we check in on with what he's been doing. And we're going to go. Bye, 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 bye.